Okay, so we want to talk about arrays in this session, right? We're going to be using Python to deal with arrays. We want to know how we create arrays in Python and how we get to use arrays when we are dealing with Python, right? Unlike other programming languages, Python do not have arrays, right? Because by definition, we said that arrays are data structures that allow the storing or the keeping of data that is in the same, that is of the same data type. You get what I'm saying? So with that knowledge being said, let me just probably create, we say that an array is going to be created coming through with square brackets like this. So this will be an array, but every array is supposed to be coming through with an identifier name, right? So our identifier name, let's say this is called array like this. So our, if I just put it like this, I have just created an empty array like this. Altogether, I can always see the data type of this by saying type of array like this. If I say type of array, they will tell me that this is type of what? Type of a list. Altogether. So with that knowledge being said, we are saying arrays, lists and arrays, they are a little bit different when we are dealing with pseudocodes, because lists, they can take in different data types, but arrays now, they are supposed to take only a single data type. So Python does not allow us, with Python doesn't have arrays, but we can use list whenever we want to create arrays. I don't know if that makes sense. So with that knowledge having been said, just merely doing this, saying array is equal to open and close square brackets like this, we have created an empty array. But pseudocode want us to create, let's have it like this. Pseudocode always want us to create, let me just put it here. If I am in pseudocode, let's say I want to create an array that's going to be storing numbers. Matter of fact, let's just answer this using a question here. So let's look at this question real quick. Using a single loop, write an algorithm in pseudocode to output 50 names that have been stored in an array that is called names. So I want to tweak this a little bit, and actually we want to write we want to use a single loop to write a program that will input, or that will store, let's just put 5 names in an array that is called names. You get the point? So we want to store 5 names in an array that is called names. That's what we want to do first. After we're done with that, then we can go back to this question and actually do the part of actually solving it as a question, yeah? So first of all, I need to declare this array. I'm putting this as a comment. If I put a hash, that's a comment, right? A comment is not executed when I'm now running my code. So if I say declare names like this, the next thing that I need to do is to mention that this is an array. This is in pseudocode. This is what I would do in pseudocode. An array that's going to be having elements starting from probably 1. Let me just start with 0. In 0 to 4, like this. Then I will indicate that this is of what? Of strings, since there are 5 names that I want to get. Right? But in Python now, I don't have to do this. What I can do if I'm going to be using array indexing, right? I'm just going to be creating an array and I'll call it names like this. Oh, let me just put this as names. So names like this, then I'll be like names, open and close bracket like this. I've created an empty array altogether. But for the reason that I want to make sure that this array, I'm supposed to be using array indexing, I'll put it like this. If I say none like this, it means that the array has got nothing. So none is a keyword that means that it's nothing. You get the point? If I then go ahead and say none, I could have just said none, comma, none, since I want 5 elements, right? I want 5 elements, I would have just said this, right? None again. Go ahead and say none again. Go ahead and say none again. This is what I could have done. Then this is okay with me because I have 5 empty slots in my array that needs something to be occupied with something altogether. But this is already time consuming for me. What if I want 100 elements? So all I just have to do is I'm going to be putting the part, I will just put only one none, then I'll go ahead and say multiplied by 5 like this. What this will do, let's see this out. If I say array, let's just say A is equals to an empty array with none. This is how I can test my code. If I say this multiplied by, let's say 5 like this, if I then say print A is going to be giving me an A coming through with 5 elements in it altogether. So if you're told that the elements that are supposed in your array are 5, like in our situation, we just say 9 times 5 like this. It's going to be giving us 5 elements in that array altogether. The next thing that I now need to do now is to run a loop now. In pseudocode, I could have actually declared I could have declared an index that's going to be coming through to store the value of what? Of an integer, right? I could have done this if I was going to be writing my pseudocode, but now I am doing it in code. I just don't have to declare the part. I'm doing it using Python. Python does not even need you to declare. So I'm going to be running my code like this for index, starting from range. So I'll be like in range. In range, that's the part now of, we're starting from 0 to 5, right? So from 0 to 5 like this. Check. What I just did there is the part that I want to run from 0 through 5, but the upper bound index position is not reached. Altogether. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, up to 4. We don't get to the last index position. So we're not going to be getting to index position number 5. We're going to be reaching to index position number 4, which is enough for us to be storing our elements here. Altogether. So one more thing that you need to be knowing, whenever we're dealing with array indexing, we deal with array indexing starting from 0. This is element number 0, index number 0, index number 1, index number 2, index number 3, index number 4. So always remember that arrays have got indexes starting from 0. The counting as far as arrays are concerned, or as far as lists are concerned, are supposed to be running from 0 altogether. So this time around, I just need to run an input. So I need to store my values in that name. So I can just go ahead and say names like this. Position number, position number index, like this, right? I want to give it a value. The value that I want to give it is the input that is coming from the user, because we want to get 5 names. So I'll be like input, open bracket, then I can actually be polite with it. Please enter your name. Please enter a name like this. If I go like this, then I have done everything that I needed to do as far as my code is concerned. This is all that I need. With pseudocodes now, you don't necessarily need to say next. With Python, you don't need to say next, but if it was a pseudocode, I was supposed to say next here. Next, I was supposed to say next index. I'll just put it as a comment, next index like this. This is what I would have done if I was writing a pseudocode. But rather, I'm not using a pseudocode, I'm using Python. Yeah? So all I just have to do now is to run this code. When I run this code now, they're going to be asking me this. Please enter a name. Then I'll put in the first name. Let's say we have Rusi. Second name, let's say we have Noku. Third name, let's say we have Tindo. Then third name, let's say we have Nishto. This. Then fourth name, let's just say we have Chains. Like this. So I just entered 5 names right there. They are all stored in array that is called names. How do I see that? I can just type names like this. If I say names like this, it's going to be giving me all the names coming through in my array like that. I don't know if it's making sense. So I now have my elements now like Rusi, No, Kutindo, Nishto, and Chains coming through to be my elements that I have stored in my array. So I don't know if there's any questions so far. So if there are no any questions now, I can play around with this now array that is called names. Let's say I want to remove a person, like probably the name Noku is not the one that we're supposed to be putting. We want to change it, let's say, to Noku Jongwe altogether. So if I want to do it like that now, I'm going to be coming through to say names. The name of my what? The name of my array like this. I have to make, the name of my array is called names like this. Then if I put dot now, next thing that's going to be happening is this. I'm supposed now to put the index, not really, I'm supposed to be indicating the index position on where Noku is sitting at. Noku is sitting on index position number what?
1.
Position number 1. So index position number 1, I want to give it a new value. Altogether. So I want to assign the new value because the equal sign is the assignment operator in Python. So just say is equals to, then I'll put in the full name that I want to put in now. It's supposed to be a string, so I'm going to be going ahead and say what? Noku Jungo like this. It's going to be coming through as my thing. Then the code is going to be running without displaying nothing because I never told you to respond to display nothing. If I then type names one more time, then it's going to be giving me now that element having been updated like that. Altogether. So if I want to access all the elements that are in my array, I will use array indexing. Just make sure that you know that the index positions, they start from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And those are 5 elements that are in the array. I don't know if it's making sense.
Yes.
Some of the other functions that you can use as far as the lists in arrays are concerned, some of the other things that you can use, we can actually use the part of len. If I say len of names like this, they're going to be giving me something at the very end of the day. Len of names is giving me 5. So len is a keyword that is used whenever we want to find the length of the elements that are in the array. How many elements are in the array? There are 5 elements. So len gives us the number of elements. Not the number of indexes, but the number of elements in the array. I don't know if that's making sense. Beautiful. Another thing that you can use as far as arrays are concerned, this is the masterpiece now of the things that I wanted. Okay, maybe let's answer the question that we have on that part. Let me see. What can we do first? What can you do first? What can you do first? What can you do first? It's fine. Another alternative of doing this is one way of actually doing the code. The other way of using the code is using the keyword append. The keyword append is used whenever we want to add an element to the end of the array. Not at the front, but at the end of the array. Altogether. So append is a function, is a keyword, or is a function. Oh, come on. It's a function used to add an element at the end of an array, like this. But in this case, it will be a list, though, at the end of the list in our case. Altogether. Function. Yep, like that. Altogether. So, instead of doing all this, let me just go ahead and actually say that names, let me just minimize this. Let me just probably put this into a let me just comment this so that we don't run this. We're running a new code now. So the new code is going to be coming through with just names like this, coming through. Come on. It's going to be coming through with names like this, with just nothing like this. So my names has got nothing right now, right? Then, if I want to run my loop now, I'll run this same loop. I'll just take this whole loop, because this was actually correct. I'll just take this whole loop here and I'll place it here like this. So for index in that, I no longer want to add elements to the array using array indexing. But I'll get an element now like this. Check this out. I'll put now a name like this. Are we together? I'll put in a name like this. Then after I have obtained that name, I need now to append it to the names array. So I'll be now like names dot, right? Check this out. If I say dot like this, these are the different functions that you can use in Python. You can append, which means you can add element to the end of the array. Or you can clear, which means you're deleting the whole array. Copy, you are creating a duplicate of the array. You get the point? You can go ahead and actually check on what all these list elements are going to be helping you to do. List functions, I mean to say. Right? So what we do next now is that if I say names.append now, append, I would then have to put in the thing that I'm appending to the end of the array. I'm appending a name. Altogether. By so doing, I would have done justice and I would have finished my code. So this array is no maximum elements. Number of elements that you're supposed to be putting into it. Is it making sense? It's not maximum number of elements that you're going to be adding to it. But this loop now is a condition now that I'm supposed to be running this loop only 5 times. Altogether. But when I append now, I can append as many times as I want. I don't know if it's making sense.
Yes.
So append is now being limited. I'm going to be getting into this code only 4 times. But when I append to a list that does not have a maximum number of elements that you can add to it. I want you to see this. So let's say that I'm running this code again. If I execute it like this, it's going to be asking me to enter a name. Then let me go ahead and actually put just characters for that. Let's say I have AA, I have BB, I have CC, I have DD, I have EE, like this. So I have my elements now in names like this. AA, BB, CC, DD, and EE altogether. Since the keyword append does not have a limit of the number of times that you can use it, I can now go ahead and say names.append now. Check this out. Names.append. If I just say, come on, append, then I go ahead and say new element like this. Check this out. If I run this code now, it's going to be giving me a new element having been added now at the end of the array. So append helps us to add elements on the array, but at the very in the array, I mean to say, but at the very end of the array. I don't know if that makes sense. We good? Beautiful. So maybe to close this up now, if I want to write a code now that's supposed to be probably displaying the elements that are in the array, right? This is the code to enter elements in the array. That's what we were doing. So all these codes that we're doing here, they add elements to the array. So we go like adding elements to arrays like this. Those are two ways that you can use. Check this out now. If I want now to go ahead, I can now always go ahead and actually put and comment these out like this because I don't want to use them no more. Right. Matter of fact, let me just do my code over here. If I want to remove elements from the array now, I want everything that is inside array to be printed. I will use now a for loop again. But since if I don't for a for loop, so if I don't know the number of elements that are in my array, I just use the key function that is called len. You get the point? So we now like for index, or yeah, for index in range. I can start by saying in range of the array that is called in range. I'm supposed to put in them the limits, right? From 0 up to the length of the names like this. I could have just said from in range of len names, but for the sake of clarity, we always start from 0 up to the length, up to the number of elements that are in the array. But taking note that the last element is not going to be read, right? The last element, not the last index, is not going to be read. The upper bound is not reached altogether. That's how the for works. So from there now, I just need to go ahead and print out the values now. So I'll just ask this to be print out. I want it to print out what is the names. What is the name's position of index like this. So this is all that I want to do. So if I do it like this now, then everything that is in the array is going to be printed out like that. Are we together? So this question that we had here just wanted us to do one thing. Using a single loop, write an algorithm in pseudocode to output 50 names that have been stored in an array that is called name. Right? So all that I have to do was this. So for index, starting in range of 50, in range of 0 to 50, right? Then I need to go ahead and just say print names position of index. That's all that I needed to do. Then I'm done with my arrays. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
Are there any questions?
No.
If there are no any questions, then I'll just close this, since this was an introductory video as far as arrays are concerned. Thank you.